Let me start by introducing myself. I am Smangele, and I am this beautiful lady's friend. And I would like to welcome you all to this gathering. We have a culture of gathering in our relationship, and we thought, why not make the circle bigger? We are announcing the birth of the child, mine. And would like to thank Samantha and Kudzi for welcoming us to the library of things we forgot to remember. And today we remember aptly our histories of loss, love, and we tap into the powers of our lineage. And before I hand over to Uhuru, I wanted to meditate shortly on what this work has meant for me to encounter it. And when I meditate on this offering that she has gifted us, I think of a creation of a body of work that brings us back to ourselves. I think about a body of work that helps us to build compassion for our ancestors. And I also think about work that helps us to map and understand who we are. And in the creation of this work, I imagine that she not only had to listen intently, but she had to feel a lot of love and safety so that she is able to embody this work. Today we'll listen to a reading of Mine. We will meditate together on the process and how it came about. And then we will write our meditations on loss, on life, on the land, and on our lineages. Without delay, I have the pleasure of introducing my friend, my fellow explorer of the vastness, a faithful and willing vessel of her lineage, a pioneer of love. Thank you for loving us this way, and over to you.
Realocha, Dumelang, good afternoon. My name is Uhuru Phalafala. I am the author of this beautiful book, I might say, that we are launching into the world today, this month. Mine. It is the story of my grandfather who worked in the mines in this city that we find ourselves in right now. I am from Limpopo, which is where we are all from. So he would travel as a migrant laborer and spend the whole year in the mines to come home for 3 weeks in December and be with his family, and then he would have to return. So Mine chronicles his life as a migrant laborer. It chronicles our collective fathers, uncles, grandfathers' lives as migrant laborers. It chronicles the story of our mothers and our grandmothers who had to wait for these husbands, sons, fathers. And it chronicles the afterlives of that, because some of us are still migrant laborers. So Mine is in 6 movements, and I will be reading from movement 1, 2, 3, and 6. So get comfortable. I begin with an epigraph. In 2018, a historic class action lawsuit of silicosis against the mining industry in South Africa was settled in favor of the miners. Footnote: the miners are dead. Bringing legality into matters of state versus property reproduces colonial violence. How about land? What about white capital? What about black overlords? Some are still buried under mine shafts. An unpayable debt, no favor. An incalculable catastrophe explored in 6 movements. Movement 1, Le Karapa. My grandfather is dead. He was vomiting blood, my mother says. Lungs contaminated by history, brimful with mine dust. He left, went. He was always away, always leaving. A migrant laborer, missed his first child's birth, his second, third, fourth, fifth, 6th. When I last saw him, he asked my mother, "Who is this fine young man?" My mother corrected him tenderly. "She's your granddaughter, Baba." He must have been washed with shame, triggered, haunted until his last days by the recurrence of that question each time he came home once a year for Christmas, presented with a newborn, an infant, a toddler. "And who is this fine little baby?" "She's your daughter. He is your son." Rahulu, did you have to kick your heart shut when you met your stranger children? These young babes with open mouths and fledgling hearts. Did you search their faces, looking for your eyes? Did they feel a gulf in your heart, broad with longing and love? Or did you feel like a stranger father to them, distance and time informing your self-preservation? Did your heart harden like a scab on a wound? How did you preserve the memories of these people, this stranger family of yours, when you were baking in earth's womb, feverish with yearning, miscarrying all dreams of kin and family? at what point, with no photograph, no letter, no visitation, did your heart, your manhood collapse into itself and give up dreams of fatherhood, of community, husband, uncle, brother, grandfather, as the months and years unravel, sludging forth with cruel hope? And at what point did you down tools of digging and drilling and mining futures where you are reunited permanently with your blood? Was it after the 6th Union strike when mine slopes collapsed and buried your brothers alive? Some under 20 years old, young bulls in their prime, locked in the pits of gold. Was it then that you saw death unmarked, unrecorded, and unceremonious, that you clearly understood your insignificance? When your demands for a pay raise or better living conditions or rights to have your wives visit the city were laughable and met with scorn? Was it the message from the Chamber of Mines that made it blood-curdling clear? Any miner who goes on strike shall be permanently banished to their homeland and their hard taxes quadrupled. Failure to pay will be punishable by death. Social death, communal death, familial death. Rahulu, did you dread coming home? Did you dread coming home to searching eyes and hearts, to strangers who were once kin, to impotent excitement and dreary celebrations? Were your lungs already half filled? Could you breathe? Did Christmas become a vicious test of faith? Did the birth of Christ bring melancholy and shame? His first breath mocking your shallow breathing, taunting your collapsing diaphragm. Did you wish for death in the silent night, to be lowered permanently in the tomb of the earth, tightly mummified to avoid any resurrection? Where is the life I have come to live? I live in deadly conditions of protracted absences. I am unavailable, a void in my family, ringing with loss, longing, loneliness, and shame. I am battered by the whip of history. There is no sanctuary. My mind is a terrifying adversary. There, my family resides fatherless. There, my livestock roams without a herder. There, the rains fail to nourish the drought in my soul. I am parched, dried out, moisture leaking from my faith. I am a critical mess, broken and unmendable. I am a ghost of a father, a son, an apparition living in pipe dreams of my oppressor. I scare my own children. They wail when they see me. My neighbors offer half-hearted smiles when stranger kin December visitor comes. Crack their jaded jaws making conversation. My wife mirrors my shame. She closes her heart against my name. I am the inglorious dead. Don't want or need or desire. My mother, her companion, preaches life. Leave a part of you here for us to live. She promises death. She wants life. My wife obliges. Her warmth nauseates me. Her softness fills me with dread. I want to beat her skin till it ruptures my impenetrable heart. Drain the grief and sorrow in my soul. My shame, my name, my pain, leaking her forgotten dreams, overripe and putrefying. We swelter through pause, steaming abreast, huffing, I cannot breathe, puffing, mind dust, feeling her pulsating under death, not breathing, hollowed by duty, mocked by marital blasphemy, hiding hurt and heart, numbing memories of pleasures coveted and stolen elsewhere. Movement 2. A vicious modernity disfigures black maternity, turning black women's wombs into factories producing blackness. Wombs of profit and profits, birth canal strengthening GDP, ushering children into non-status, non-being, black women's birth canals, domestic middle passages, forced to deliver sons into the mind tomb of the state, a dehumanizing project that traps mothers into obligatory reproduction to honor patriarchs, to honor capitalist duties, widows with living husbands, birthing sorrow and longing, youthful hearts gorged by grief under patriarchal oath and code of silence. We do not speak of our heartbreak, the depression, the inability to breathe, the lustful nights, the desire for flight, the foundering dreams of the city of lights, the unspoken rights to partake in the gold. We shall forget the newborn, the ones we buried and never talk about, the tongues we had to swallow in our mourning, trailed with blood stains of memory. We shall master silence and forgetting, grieving but not crying. rotating between pregnant and breastfeeding, grieving a miscarriage and pregnant, breastfeeding after a miscarriage, grieving a stillbirth while pregnant, bleeding a miscarriage while breastfeeding, pregnant, grieving and miscarrying, grieving infertility after stillbirth, breeding, feeding and bleeding, breastfeeding a stillborn while grieving a miscarriage, grieving postnatal breeding, grieving infertility after stillbirth, breeding, feeding, bleeding. Ah! Ke motswetsi, ke imile ke a hloboga, ke imile ke a hloboga ke motswetsi, ke motswadi wa go hloka setswetsi, motswetsi wa go hloka lesea. Not waving but drowning, grieving, birthing boys that become prophet, hating love that grieves the heart, closing heart against willful abduction, grieving husbands who become profitable boys, grieving stillbirth in the stillness of longing, lasting grief in the breastfeeding of profitable boys, miscarrying orgies of postnatal gross domestic loss. Do not cry. Uskalla. Ulelang jwale. Ulela ing. Ulelang. Eh? In 1961, my grandmother went to the City of Lights with her husband, lodging hidden in the crevices of the cold compounds. The matriarchs orchestrated the visit. She wasn't ovulating when he was home. A mule with a practical agenda, 2 weeks tops. But the iciness of the city bonded their flesh together. In the middle of the night, a raid. Goo, 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 goo. Hide behind the curtain of history, under the blanket of white terror. Hey boy, what's this kafir bitch doing here? She doesn't have a permit. Oh, sorry, boss. Hey bitch, this is not bloody Gazankulu. Don't look at me when I'm talking to you. Boy, does your wife know you play with whores in this shack of yours? Please, she is my wife. Our child just died. We are grieving. Listen to this kafir acting white. My child just died. I want her gone before the sun comes out. And they were gone, leaving a flame of shame, licking clean all affection, and bringing the weight of history to crush their disposable lives. Do not cry. Ulelang. Ulela ing. Ulelang. We do not speak about those things. Uskalla. The present is a tough terror to swallow, a contaminated place to breathe, artificial in cemetery, windows broken by inherited shame, grief, longing, loss, spiritual dis-ease, the terror of leaving and never coming back, rageful outbursts of unprocessed grief, fermenting in the foaming mouth, swelling, inflamed, sprouting outgrowths. History is brewing in my uterus, fibroiding and braiding my past with a present that triggers minefields. Miners shut down. My mother's neurosis ruptures her psychic spleen, a mental hiccup, reflex, gag, mineral heartburn of a tumor in the belly of her beauty, the mark of the beast. I am of her embodied grief. Body, an inventory of leaving. Black rage in swallow. My skin, a pathology of violent encounters, an inhalation of fibric intimacies, a memorial to enforced labor. So how do you raise daughters to become widows, to become the most unmarried, married women, to mother without fathers, to break flowers in their mouth, to live with the aftertaste of extermination? Well, they must excel at swallowing grief, kneel at the altar of duty, martyr themselves in their father's honor, be eloquently unsung, be obedient to loss, especially of self. Too many grievances spoil the rot. A calculus of black female death. There is no space for your tears here. Your depression offends me. The weak die before they are born, and girl, you are going to live even if it kills you. Do you know the trouble that I've seen? Do you know the troubles that lie ahead for a black woman like yourself? I need to toughen you up. I would have failed if I didn't prepare you for the world that's not set up for you and me. A system that makes cemeteries of us, that lowers coffins of our husbands in us, in our bowels, in our throats, sons that don't make it back, husbands that husband and father other families go maboneng. We've buried daughters like you, daughters like us, for they brought grief. Won't even look at you. Young bulls are prized. Boys, boys, boys. We were born widows in this condition that does not have a name. A mother without children. A neurosis of history. Sons and daughters were tortured in prison, chopped up and bribed by cannibals of the state, brain damaged by torture, then dragged behind a bakkie, disemboweled, decapitated, maimed. These bodies return to mothers and wives, unadorned by the national flag, sons whose sparkling suns set before their prime. How do I receive their dismembered parts? How do I remember the dismembered? We are born in a blanket, come of age with a blanket. Then the blanket of our womanhood, the gift blanket of our marriage, of our first child, second child, the blanket to mourn our miscarriage, stillbirth, not breathing, under a blanket, the blanket you bring from Egoli, a declaration of our love, the blanket to mourn you when you do not return, when you return dead, decapitated, maimed, disemboweled, the blanket of devastation to hide my pain and tears, incantatory sobs of a praying mantis under a blanket, a kanga, a macabre honor code of broken wishbones from sacrificial cocks, crushed by silence, burying violence like seeds, firing up future soils here and forevermore. Uskalla ulalang, ulela ing. Ulalang. I cannot breathe. Movement 3, Maholwa. A vicious and calamitous modernity waging underground industrial wars, producing a staggering 40% of the world's gold, and with it, a tenfold of generational casualties in the frontier city of Egoli, Gauteng, Maboneng. A buzzing metropolis fueled by Black death. The Black migrant worker forced into compliance and obedience, feared and desired, policed, marshaled, disciplined, hounded, chased, trapped, incarcerated, broken into animal. Police, pester, pedestrian for passes, dumpas, my life, my wife, hungry hand comes back with nothing from the rear pocket. Where's your bus, boy? Where's your pass? Now I ride in the kwela, heavy air, massive, with song and solidarity, moments of clamoring clarity. Amandla! Away to Maibuye Africa. In jail, we eat political education, wash it down with revolution amid rats, cockroaches, and ticks. In the mines, we get shorn like black sheep. The prisons shave us like disease-infested infidels. Our lungs are filled with silicosis in the mines. We are asphyxiated in the prisons, lungs riddled with tuberculosis. We cannot breathe, drowning in the blood of tortured comrades who fell from the 9th floor by slipping on a piece of soap while washing, by hanging on the 9th floor while sleeping. White lies infiltrating radioactive waves of international press. The natives are restless, says one headline, while prisoners' heads are in the firing line. My grandfather towing the line of secretly throwing black fists in the air while playing docile, drilling the gold standard of white monopoly. America, arbiter of morality, enemy of dirty communists assisting apartheid, apprehend and assassinate black anti-racist activists through severe surveillance and perverse alliances to subdue revolution. Jim Crow and apartheid sitting in a tree. K-I-L-L-I-N-G. Thatcher and apartheid sitting in a tree. K-I-S-S-I-N-G. French kissing federal intelligence, building iron curtains with our gold, intercepting and infiltrating insurrections, chasing imagined red peril and swart gevaar. We will protect our right to pillage Africa for natural resources by any means necessary. We are America. We will trample them with the might of our first world. We are America. These kafirs and niggers don't know the real cost of the civilization they enjoy. We will crush any savage and barbarian who wants to stop progress. You can count on us, Verwoerd. We locked away that terrorist, Sobukwe. We provided intel for Lily's Leaf Farm raid, where those bloody savages and nigger lovers thought they would bring the Algerian revolution to South Africa. They will rot in jail, sir. Yes, sir. They will rot in jail. Yeah. Abelungu, ne? Abelungu, goddamn. Abelungu, god damn. 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 Basibiza Abu Jim. Abelungu, god damn. Abelungu, god damn. Abelungu, god damn. Basibiza Abu Jim. Abelungu, god damn. Abelungu, god damn. Abelungu, god. Mississippi, god damn. Movement 6. Lefalantate. Lefalantate ke mahluku le maswabi le boitsholo ba go fenywa ba go tlhabisa dihlong ba go hloka mantswe ba go omisa leleme ba motsietse botho asa phela ba motsiela polelo asana le molomo ba motsiela lentswe asana le leleme motho ke sera seo fela se rego ge se rakaletswe se lahle leleme se lahle le botho se tlhabane ka marumo. Our inheritance is deep disgrace, shame, silence, and defeat that dries our mouths and leaves deserts in our souls. My grandfather's humanity was taken while he was alive, his language broken in his mouth, his tongue severed and buried. A human being is a beast that, when cornered and its tongue taken, throws away his humanity and fights ferociously with weapons. Who does he fight? Where does the trauma go? A ring of fire bonds black women to dutiful fits of historical rage, unprocessed grief, archived in the muscle of black men, outlet for centuries of exploitation, subjection, and breaking of black power, internalized, brewed, now fermenting toxic, malignant masculinities, infecting black women, controlling their movements, disciplining and punishing them, burying them alive, centenaries of vengeful agony, trapped in double stories of mine shafts, homes with evil layers of overseers, slopes kept from crashing on our backs, toiling in search of the shiny appearance, digging deep enough to bury our dreams, the forbidden deadly sin of pride. There can only be one bull in the kraal, suffocating, pleasure faking under the bull, clawing for promises of our covenant, of church hymns, amens and hymens, breaking back so he can rise, breaking hymen for his honor, breaking mouth for his status, breaking my name so he can possess me, breaking. Break your body for my lineage, break your body for my children, breastfeed my children, don't breastfeed in public, fix your saggy breast to breastfeed me, climb ladders of success but do not pass me, make money but give it to me, doctor at work, wife at home, CEO in the office, slave in my kitchen, make dombolo, make lasagna, don't wear waist beads unless on top of me, don't talk to me, don't talk back to me, don't ask me question, don't take birth control, don't be pregnant again, don't have an abortion. Why are you pregnant again? Be a mother and a virgin, be a whore in my bed, be conservative and respectable, be adventurous, kiss a girl man, only for my pleasure, don't be a whore outside my house, restore your birth canal, be a virgin, be a mother, bleach your vagina and your face. I don't like makeup, I like tall dark dandies, be a yellow bone like Lupita. I hate to love you, I hate to hate you, I love to hate you, I hate hating me, I hate your heart, I hate my heart, I hate my heart, I hate my hate, I hunger to howl, help! I hate. Lefa la ntate ke mahloko le maswabi le boitsholo ba go fenywa ba go tlhabisa dihlong. Leaving, always going, knowing, going more than staying, intimate with loss and abandonment, sounds, mouths parched from asking about fathers, daughters hollowed by yearning, validation, bone deep cuts of history, revealing, marrow, encoding DNA of absence and death, mourning in the morning, bellicose homes of rapture, throwing up bulimic futures of entrapment and suffocation, codes of secrecy and silence, pushing down the pain with Big Mac of cereal and ribs of blessers, invading our privates, clogging arteries to numb the voices of ancestors. The voices of ancestors demanding reckoning, cleansing and restoring, cracking our cranium with cocaine for the pain of not knowing where our dead are buried, not knowing the song of our lineage, not knowing our stakazelo, not knowing where our fathers are, not knowing who we are, not waving but drowning, not breathing but living, not living but surviving, not knowing the violence of our past repeated in the safety of our homes. I hit a fit of hell and home, my house of hunger, hollowed by heinous history unhinged. I hunt your hurt and had your heart, and 10, the hate on hanging my hollow home in cold blood. The horror. I hit my heart, habitually hurt my hate of hardship. It's hard. I hate my hurt. I hurt. It's hurt. It's hard. It hurts. I hunt your heart and hurt your heart. 10, the hate on hanging my hollow home in cold blood. The horror. I hit my heart, habitually hurt my hate of hardship. It's hard. I hate my heart, I hate my head. It hurts, it's hard. It hurts. But did we die? Yes, we did die. Found salvation from whoredom and lascivious eyes of the master, salivating over harems on plantations and servants' quarters. Black bodies on strike, self-immolate for transcendence. Out of the ruins and smolder of remarkable destruction, in the thick silence of starry darkness, the blackness of creation, a vision and a voice. Do not be afraid. You have found favor and redemption. Unto you daughters shall be born, with medicine for the lineage in the bones of their tongues. Yes, we did die. In the blackness of destruction, creation. We part our hips like the sea and birth ourselves. Use our mothers' names to sing our resurrection. Weave our purpose with gifts from 3 wise women who imprinted scriptures forged out of stardust and spectacular smithereens of our former selves into kilts of our hearts. Moonlight illuminates our new name. The dying wish of burning mouths blazing in our bones, blossoming with revelations of our spirit supreme.
As you think about what you've just heard, and think about your own loss, your own history of loss. How have you swallowed that loss? Where do you feel the loss? Take a deep breath. Another one. How have you been marked by loss? Take a deep breath. You may open your eyes. Before we get to the writing, we want to take this moment and meditate on loss together. I have 2 or 3 questions for Uhuru. I'm sure a lot of us are curious. How do you craft this medicine? And how do you create this medicine for sharing with others? I want to remind you as well that we are co-creating this space. We are reflecting on loss together. And so whatever you need to do, sit on the floor, do as whatever it is that calls you or that led you here today. Are you ready? Yes. So I want to share a disclaimer to say I knew of this work as it was birthed, and I got the chance to read it in March 2020, and I was afraid to read it. And you can see why. I want to just zone in on process. How we process the loss, but also how we create the medicine we need to heal and to grow from loss. So you touch on witnessing as a concept that is given to us by Bayo Akamolafe.
Yeah.
And as you witness this medicine, I'm interested to know what held you together as you moved through the process to process the loss.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, dumelang gape. Are you well? Yeah. So just a bit of context. My grandfather passed in 2017, and he visited me to tell me his story in 2019 through the dream world and the waking state. And this was a new experience for me to hear so clearly the voice in my ear. Usually I interact with that world in many other ways, but the sonic and auditory I had never experienced like that. And I had to engage in deep listening as someone who wanted and desired to catch what I'm hearing from the spirit world. So today I can speak about it in terms of writing as ritual, or writing without W, so writing, R-I-T-I-N-G, which to me means writing in community, whether it's in community with the multiple authors that I read. I'm a literary scholar. The books that I read, the music that I listen to, the visual art that I enjoy as part of my practice, that community, writing in community of the living land, the waters, the cosmos, the animal, breath, air, wind, lightning, rain, ocean, that community. And also the community of the living dead, those who came before me, and at times those who come after me, that community as well. So I consider my writing without the W, because it is co-creation. It is not, so it's not my exceptional genius as a man, and I'm marching forth into this land and conquer it and invade it and settle and name it after myself. It's not that. I don't act upon this knowledge. It acts upon me. And the challenge is, or the invitation is to create space to be acted upon, to create space to hear when the voice, when the presence speaks. It's an invitation to shift my understanding of what knowledge production it is. I also am an academic, so I'm trained in particular ways about what knowledge is. So that collapses in the face of co-creation, because academia wants me to go to the archive and witness and go right. But what we are talking about, as you said, is witnessing. I can be witnessed before I witness anything. I'm being witnessed and I'm witnessing, and we are witnessing within. We are with each other witnessing. And that process of creating space and engaging in that listening required so many things that I think in and of themselves create space for healing. Observing a particular diet, you can't just, drink, eat whatever you want. You have to be up at 3 a.m. Any 3 a.m. gang people here. Like, you have to follow a particular kind of ritual. So ritual is the gathering and the witnessing and the co-creating. That's ritual, but ritual is also how you get up, what time you get up, how you move the mind space when you get up, what food you put in your body to create clear vessels so you can be able to hear, to catch, to be in communion with. That's also ritual. So that in itself is a healing journey, because it creates a space of listening to yourself, because you're so clear. And you are attuned. You're like deliberate about attuning yourself to something, and that thing most often is yourself. And I think that the spirit world is actually an expansion deeper into yourself, right? It is. I come from my grandfather. He is here. He's in my DNA. He is within me. So it's not that the spirit world is so esoteric, so out there. I think that it is, in fact, an expansion deeper into the self, into this vastness of multi-generations of people that come before me and are encrypted in my DNA, they are in my blood, they are in my nose, they are in my hair. So it is actually a journey into myself. And creating that space for writing as ritual, for writing as writing without W, that in itself is a journey of meeting yourself, which I think is another definition for healing, which of course is not a destination. It's a continuous journey of meeting yourself. You meet yourself today, tomorrow you are different. You have to meet that one, right? So that's the process. I like that you're talking about process as a practice of producing art, the methodology of making the art, and process as in synthesizing, feeling, of processing what is present for you. Yeah, I love that. I'd never thought of it that way. So within that, there's also you're processing loss, and it opens up many other losses. And that's why the invitation today, I spoke of loss in its multiple dimensions in the invitation. Loss, while writing this book, I experienced grief around loss of land, around loss of language, around loss of lineage, the Group Areas Act and the apartheid and the colonialism. It separated us from our lineages. My grandparents live there and I live there, and we haven't seen them in years and in decades, and that loss of land is loss of lineage, it's loss of language. And at the same time, while writing this, I experienced more than anything love, being enveloped and enshrined by love, because man, you must love us if you visit us from a place where you are resting. I would just chill maybe. It's like, hey, those ones.
I'd say bye.
Yeah, love. I want always to sit with the expansive nature of love, especially in relation to our ancestors, those who came before us, those who walked deep journeys and left enormous wisdom for us, encoded in our indigenous languages, encoded in the stories they told us. I want to always shift and challenge this one notion of love, of 14 February, of love that's definite and commodified and transactional, all of that. I want to shift from that and expand into love as a geography, as a place where I can know myself, and there I find that I'm accompanied. I'm never alone. So that is part of the processing of the love, of the loss and the love. They're sitting on this, they're two sides of the same. Yeah.
So we talk process in two ways, right? And there's something about loss that also removes you from yourself, like a rupture, and a deep sense of confusion, right? So I want maybe if you could touch on the overlap between loss as we feel it, as we understand it, but in this form, that overlap between biography and biology. Because you bring us a lot to the body and the breath. Even as we listen to you with the sonics, they sort of like arrest us and take us to particular places of our loss.
Breath is life, is how we come into life, is how spirit manifests into the physical body and becomes this thing we call the human, which is who we are. And at the same time, the black body in this civilization emerges or comes into this civilization that we call a colonial modernity, this modernity that we live in, this white world that we occupy. The black body comes into that world as a commodity, as an object, as an extractionable unit of labor, as a flesh to be whipped, to be raped, to be buried alive, to be decapitated, disemboweled, right? So the body, the black body in this modernity emerges as this flesh that does not have life. So to return to the body, because colonial modernity makes us escape our bodies through loss that is so staggering. We experience such loss and violence that we escape our bodies. And breath is the thing that is always there. It's the thing that we can return to, and return to the body. And returning to the body that's been so ill-treated and has been labeled profane and all sorts of negative things. To return to it is a divine practice, is devotional to return to the body, when it is just easier and better to escape from the body. This modernity tells us knowledge is of the mind, reason and rational and logic is neck up. But to return to the body and ask the body what it knows, the knowledges of the body, divine, because they shift and overturn the mold that this civilization and modernity wants to lock us in. So the body is a site of subterfuge. It's to be in your body and to stay in your body and to cry and to feel and to care and to touch and to be in communion with and to cook and to pleasure and to leisure is radical in this civilization. So, as somebody who is also trained as an academic, I've always been at odds with producing this knowledge, as I say, from neck up. Disembodied knowledge, that I can speak of race, I can speak of patriarchy, I can speak of homophobia, and I can speak of capitalism in abstract ways, as if they don't affect me and live in my body. I must write about them as if they are these theories and these abstract ideas, while they course through my veins, while they sit in my body. So for me to settle into the body, to come from this ivory tower and go into my body and be in communion with the knowledges of my body is the only way that mind could have come up. It was never, otherwise it was not going to be my grandfather's story. It was going to be, in this essay I will attempt to tell you about racial capitalism. Racial capitalism is, you know. Here we must feel. Here we must share experience, lived experience. Here I must speak with a communal voice. It's not my voice alone, it's our voice, it's our histories, our experiences, the experiences of our mothers, of our grandmothers. It's a communal voice. You don't enter that through logics and rational and reason of the mind. There's no feeling here. There's no empathy here. All of that sits here. There's no intuition here. You have to necessarily breathe into that and come into the body. So I like that. Did you say biography and biology? Tata. Love it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
I want to signpost it for us because we are on a journey, you know. So we spoke about process in two ways, right? The process, how you go to the particular thing, and the process, how you understand the particular thing. And then now we are these black bodies that are acted upon, right? That have to try and understand our body and our breath. And a lot
black body, and I'm sorry to be to cut here. Black body, black body gendered in a particular way, experiencing even particular types of violence. You know, this is body is an inventory of all of that.
Hence the labels, right?
Yeah.
Because you label a clothing item,
yes, the categorization, and the
Right.
classification. So black being in this body, I experience life in a particular way that caused me to abscond from the body. So, history violates you in many ways.
It does. So I want to then come to writing as a way to congregate, right? Writing as congregation, writing as communion, right? And writing as communication. Because you've done a thing for us here, right? And you sort of like helping us navigate this history of loss, right? So writing on loss, on life, on land, on love can be quite overwhelming,
Yeah.
right? So where do we begin?
Ritual. A ritual you set yourself. And ritual is not, as I said, it's not only burning things and you can have a sustained ritual of questioning things and staying with the question. Not to look for answers per se, not as the outcome of this question. The question itself is enough because the question can be a portal for co-creation. So poets look at things. Poets look and they don't take their eyes away. And they question things. And those things don't have answers. And they at times don't have language. So we make language. That's how we stay true to the questions that preoccupy us. Commitment to questioning. Commitment to not looking away. And commitment to making language. And because I write in communion, today I want to invoke one of the writers whose work's just been sitting with me all week, Yvonne Vera, Zimbabwean black feminist writer. I absolutely love what she says about this matter. Because it's those commitment, right, of questioning, of not looking away, of making language. And she writes that the birds fly out of the trees bearing signs that send new hope to the ground. It is always in a state of creation and of being born. The legend creating wind gives new tongues with which to praise it and new languages with which to cross the boundary of time. So this combination of the birds and the wind and the hope that is in constant becoming and in constant creation, we are part of that. We are part of that recipe. So when I say I am in communion with the cosmos and the waters and the animals and the trees, and I'm not just saying it to sound like a Cape Townian hippie, which I live in Cape Town, which maybe one might call me that. It is that. It is enchanting the world that's been disenchanted by modernity, by colonialism. It's disenchanted. We just walk past amazing things. Flowers, amazing trees and the change of season, oceans. It's been disenchanted. We don't see the magic in life anymore. So the questioning They're not looking away. They're making language, their commitment to presence is an enchanting of the world, an enchanting of language, an enchanting of knowledge. It's enchantment. Enchantment. The world is not only disenchanted, but it's disenchanting. We are disenchanted by everything. I don't need to name the things of today. We are disenchanted, we are traumatized, we are triggered, we are anxious. We need enchantment. And the root word at the core of enchantment is chant. It's song, it's chant, it's chant, it's chant, and that's breath again, right? Enchantment. I think that's what it is.
Delicious. So we want to invite you. I feel it.
It feels like it.
We want to invite you now to sort of like reflect on this commitment to looking, commitment to feeling, and commitment to asking the questions, right? And making language, you know. I want to say, feel free. No one is going to look at what you're writing. There's no teacher who's going to mark it. Give yourself permission to begin to process. I think we wanted to sort of like open up a portal where we begin to process these things together. Because normally you go, you watch something, you listen to something, and there's no way where you are processing and thinking around what is it invoking in me, right? And how can I take it forward? So I will give you prompts from this medicine. And also remind you that you've been prompted already, right? You've been asked to think about where do you feel your loss. You've been asked to think about how you have swallowed loss, right?